Farm to table starts in the heart. I always say, farm to table begins not on a fancy plate or in a USDA handbook. It begins in the heart of the farmer. In my 20 years raising ducks, that lesson has been seared into my soul. People think delivering safe, clean duck meat is all about having the right system certifications or high-tech barns. Sure, those matter, but behind every system and standard there must be a farmer who genuinely cares, someone who treats those ducks with respect from day one. Without ethics and heart, farm to table is just a slogan. With them, it's a promise. I wasn't always so high-minded. 2 decades ago, I was a scrappy newcomer with 100,000 quacking mouths to feed and a loan to pay off. Back then, I measured success purely in numbers: growth rates, feed, conversion, profit per duck. I thought I was doing a decent job if my ducks hit target weight by 7 weeks and I passed the food safety tests. But I'll admit, I cut corners. I'd reuse bedding one time too many slack on disinfecting boots or delay a vaccine to save a few bucks. I learned the hard way that ducks have a way of punishing complacency. One chilly spring morning, I walked into the barn and immediately sensed something was wrong. It was far too quiet. Instead of the usual chorus of hungry quacks, I heard weak peeps and saw ducklings huddled under the heaters, eyes dull. My heart sank. An outbreak. Within 48 hours, I lost over 500 birds to a fast-moving infection. I remember burying those little bodies, devastated and angry at myself. The vet later confirmed it was duck virus hepatitis, a deadly disease that could have been prevented by a timely vaccine and stricter biosecurity. I had failed them, and it broke me. That night I sat in the dark barn, the empty husk of it, and made a vow never again would I put profit before the welfare of my ducks or the safety of my customers. That tragedy was my wake-up call. I realized that safety isn't just about meeting industry standards on paper. It's about the everyday choices the farmer makes when no one's watching. I needed to change from the ground up. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work blending old-school husbandry with cutting-edge tech. First on the list was biosecurity. I became almost fanatical about cleanliness and disease prevention. We instituted an all-in, all-out system. No new ducklings would come in until the previous flock was completely out, and the barn scrubbed down and disinfected top to bottom. I spread lime on the dirt paths and set up foot baths at every barn entrance. My own mother wasn't allowed inside until she dipped her boots. Visitors were practically dunked in sanitizer before I let them near my birds. Some folks joked I ran a duck hospital instead of a farm, but the results spoke sicknesses plummeted and my barn smelled of clean pine shavings and possibility. Next, I rethought my feeding and watering protocols. Ducks are messy creatures. Give them an open water trough and they'll turn their pen into a swamp in minutes. I learned to work with their nature. We built raised drinker platforms with non-slip slats so when the ducks splashed, and oh, did they splash, the excess water drained away and the litter stayed drier. This little innovation meant healthier feet and fewer respiratory problems from damp bedding. Feeding became an exercise in precision. We started with a high-protein starter crumble for the first 2 weeks, then gradually switched to a balanced grower feed. I used to dump feed in big piles and let the ducks have at it, but that led to competition and waste. Now I have automated feeders that dispense small amounts, ensuring every duckling gets its fair share. I even track feed conversion ratios, feed in versus weight gained, not just for efficiency, but as a health indicator. If feed conversion slips, it might mean disease creeping in or a stress factor, so I investigate immediately. Temperature control was another game changer. In the early days, I'd adjust heat lamps by gut feel. Sometimes I got it wrong. I'd find the ducks piled up a sign they were cold or panting with wings out too hot. So I invested in a climate control system. Now brooders start at a cozy 32 degrees, 90 degrees for day-old ducklings and taper down each week as their downy fluff turns to feathers. Powerful fans paired with misting coolers keep my grow-out barns in the comfort zone even during our sweltering summers. Ducks can't sweat, so if it's 100 degrees outside, imagine wearing a down coat in that heat. Not fun. My system kicks on automatically to keep the barn around a mild 70 degrees. I still walk the barns constantly, of course. A farmer's eyes and ears are irreplaceable. No sensor can truly tell if the flock is content. Sometimes I'll catch a subtle change in their quacks, or the way they settle that hints at an issue before any thermostat does. It's high-tech meets horse sense, and the ducks thrive because of it. Perhaps the biggest leap forward for my farm was embracing genetic technology and improved breeding. When I started, we raised a pretty generic strain of Pekin duck. They grew fast enough, but nothing like today. A few years ago, I switched to a breed developed by Cherry Valley, a renowned breeder, and it was like trading in a pickup for a sports car. These ducks, I call them my super ducks, have been selected over decades for robustness and feed efficiency. They reach about 7 pounds, 3.2 kilos live weight in just 6.5 weeks with broad breasts and strong legs. That kind of growth used to take 8 to 9 weeks when I began farming. The scientists even talk about genomic selection and gene markers to improve disease resistance and growth. It blows my mind. In a way, my barn has become part of a global network of innovation. I'm raising the results of 50 years of genetic progress, and in turn, my data growth rates, health stats, feeds back to the companies to refine the next generation. It's a far cry from the barnyard ducks my grandpa raised. But here's the thing. All the fancy tech and super ducks in the world mean nothing if you don't genuinely care for the animals. I've made sure that technology serves the ducks, not the other way around. For instance, I have software that monitors each barn's temperature, humidity, and even ammonia levels. If something goes out of range, my phone buzzes. That's great for responding fast. Yet I still start my mornings the same way I did 20 years ago, walking among the ducks, kneeling down to check the litter by hand, listening to the rhythm of quacks. If the air smells off or the flock seems restless, I trust my gut and investigate. There's no app for attentiveness. My routine may look old-fashioned from the outside, rising at dawn, hauling feed, talking to my ducks as I wade through a sea of white feathers, but it's precisely this hands-on care paired with high-tech tools that keeps my farm humming. I like to think I've become a better stockman over the years, more observant, more patient, and more proactive. I've learned that ducks respond to routine and calm, so we keep a steady schedule. Lights on at the same time each day, feeding rounds like clockwork and calm, quiet handling. Yes, I talk to my ducks. My employees chuckle, but I swear it keeps them gentle when we need to catch or move them. Any changes we introduce gradually, whether it's a new feed ingredient or a different bedding. And if something's not working, we change it one small step at a time so we don't throw the birds off balance. Consistency and small tweaks. That's the name of the game. To truly understand how everything comes together, let me take you through a typical 45-day cycle on my farm. A memoir of one flock's journey from hatchling to table-ready bird. Every cycle is a little different, but they all follow a similar storyline filled with anticipation, challenges, and triumphs. Day 1. New arrivals. The moment a new batch of day-old ducklings arrives is still my favorite part of this job. Each duckling is a tiny yellow puffball peeping away full of energy and uncertainty. We unload the crates gently into the pre-warmed nursery section of the barn. The place is prepared like a cozy nursery heaters set to a toasty 90-degree soft, dry rice hull, bedding feed trays and water fonts everywhere you look. The little ones scamper out, and I swear some give a look that says, "So this is home." Immediately, instinct kicks in. They start exploring, nibbling at the feed and sipping water. A few even try to swim in the drinkers, clumsy as they are. My team and I make sure every duckling finds water in those first critical hours. I even dip a few beaks gently into the water dish to teach them how to drink. It's tedious, but a good start is everything. A wise old farmer once told me, every extra gram a duck gains in the first week adds 10 to its finish weight. I live by that now. By nightfall, the barn is alive with the contented rustling of babies under the warm glow of brooder lamps. I sleep lightly that night, ears half tuned to the barn alarm and baby monitor I keep by my bed. Yes, I set up a camera. I'm a high-tech mother hen. Week 1. Fragile Lives. The first week tests a farmer's vigilance. These ducklings grow fast. They'll double in weight in just days. But they're still fragile little things. I'm in the barn every few hours checking that the heaters are functioning and the feed trays stay topped up. A few days in, we give them their first vaccine, a quick drink of water with a mild vaccine for duck hepatitis to bolster their immunity while they still carry mom's antibodies. The ducklings don't even notice it busy scurrying around my boots. By day 7, they've learned the daily rhythm. They know when I enter in the morning with my coffee and a scoop of starter feed. A wave of cheeps greets me and a few bold ones peck at my shoelaces. This is when trust begins. I move slowly and speak softly so they don't startle. Healthy ducks are curious and unafraid. I take it as a good sign that by end of week 1, whenever I squat down, a dozen will wobble over to inspect me, maybe nibble my jeans. It's adorable, and yes, I've ended up with duckling gifts in my coat pocket more than once when one decides it likes the warmth and falls asleep on me. Week 2. Growing pains. The barn starts to get rowdier. By day 14, the ducklings have tripled in size and swapped some of their soft down for pin feathers on their wings. They eat like teenagers now, seemingly non-stop. I switch them over from open trays to automatic feeders and nipple drinkers to accommodate their growth. Training them on the nipple waterers is a bit comical. I tap the metal nipples so water droplets glisten and curious ducks peck at them and get a surprise splash. Soon, they figure it out. The brooder's temperature is gradually reduced to around 80 degrees as their bodies run hotter with growth. This week, we also vaccinate for duck plague, a nasty virus officially called duck viral enteritis. I've never seen a case on my farm and plan to keep it that way. A quick jab under the skin while they're eating and it's done. A tiny prick now to prevent a world of hurt later. I often think about my neighbor down the road who wasn't so lucky. A duck plague outbreak nearly wiped him out years ago. Stories like that keep me strict in following our health protocols, no matter how laborious. By the end of week 2, the flock is sturdier and more uniform. We thin out any runts, moving them to a VIP pen where they get extra TLC. Uniformity is important. If all ducks are about the same size, they'll grow better, and we can treat them as a flock rather than individuals. The few that lag behind in these early days, I either catch up or if they're really ailing, make the tough call to cull. That's never easy emotionally, but I owe it to the flock to ensure disease doesn't spread or one suffering duck doesn't contaminate others. I remind myself that swift, humane euthanasia is also part of ethical farming. Weeks 3 to 5. The teenage phase. This is when the story picks up pace and challenges. By day 21, we officially move from the nursery phase to the grow-out phase. The ducks are no longer tiny fuzzballs. They're hulking juveniles, snow-white feathers coming in nicely with that signature waddle and a voracious appetite. We open up the partition so they have the full run of the barn, giving them more space per bird. Watching them stampede out to explore the new space is pure joy, wings flapping, exuberant quacks echoing. The barn suddenly feels a lot smaller, with 5,000 adolescent ducks zooming around. We adjust feeders higher and waterers to adult height. The bedding gets topped up with fresh straw to keep things dry as their water antics increase. At this stage, temperature control is still crucial, but I also have to ensure good ventilation. Too many ducks in a warm room can lead to ammonia buildup from their droppings. I installed an automated ventilation system that kicks on fans and opens vents when the air needs freshening. It's amazing how much fresh air a few thousand ducks demand, but one whiff of the barn on a humid afternoon will teach you that lesson quick. Thankfully, the system keeps the air quality in check, and I monitor it by doing the nose test daily. If I can smell ammonia at duck level, it's time to boost ventilation. Around week 4, we hit a growth spurt. The ducks seem to double in heft almost overnight. They're eating machines. We're talking several tons of feed disappearing in days. I make a point to walk the lines of feeders morning and evening, ensuring none are empty or clogged. If a feeder malfunctions and one group misses a meal by next day, you'll see them all huddled and smaller. Every duck counts, so we don't let that happen. Water is similarly checked. Even a brief outage or a clogged line can cause a pileup around the drinkers and undue stress. Keep the water flowing and feed coming. I drill into my crew and the ducks will do the rest. We also maintain bedding diligently now. Ducks at this age produce a lot of manure, and moisture is the enemy of a healthy flock. We remove caked wet spots and add fresh dry bedding daily. It's labor-intensive, yes, but it beats dealing with an outbreak of aspergillosis, a fungal disease from moldy litter or foot infections. I joke that at this stage I'm less of a farmer and more of a housekeeper for ducks, sweeping, airing, tidying up after these messy teenagers. A bit of humor makes the hard work light. My arms may ache from shoveling sawdust, but I'll quip. Guess I don't need a gym membership. I've got ducks. Curveball and resilience. Every cycle has its twists, and this flock was no different. In the middle of week 5, a freak storm hit our region. A lightning strike knocked out power on the farm one evening. Suddenly my climate system went dark. No fans, no lights. I'll never forget the sound of thousands of ducks going from a gentle murmur to an agitated cacophony in seconds as the ventilation stalled. My heart pounded. Without airflow, heat and gases can build up fast. I grabbed a flashlight and raced through ankle-deep mud to the generator shed in pounding rain. Thunder booming, I manually fired up the backup generator. Those few minutes felt like hours. I was drenched and shivering, but finally the lights flickered back and the fans whirred to life. In the barn, the ducks were upset. Some had crowded in corners from the commotion, but the air was moving again. I walked among the flock past midnight, calming them with soft words. I even hummed an old country tune my father used to sing to our cows, who knew ducks liked music. Or maybe it was just my presence that reassured them. By dawn, things were back to normal, and I was exhausted on my feet. but a warm wave of pride washed over me as I watched the ducks preen and play in the first morning light. We had weathered the crisis together. It's in those moments, when you fight for your animal's well-being, that you realize just how much heart is in this work. No one from the outside world saw or cared that I spent that night in the barn, but my ducks did. And the next week, they rewarded me with steady growth and good health. Not a single duck lost from the ordeal. Week 6. Finishing strong. By day 40, my babies have grown into fully finished table ducks. They're hefty and well-proportioned with plump breasts and clear, bright eyes, the picture of health. This last week, I taper the lights a bit to keep them calm and prevent any bruising or scratches. Calm birds are safer to handle and yield better meat quality. We don't want them overly fat either, so we fine-tune the feed, slightly less energy, more greens or fiber just to keep their digestive system happy. At this point, I can stroll through and almost feel the satisfaction in the barn. These ducks have had a good life, albeit a short 45-day one. They've had clean water, good food room to move, and minimal stress. That matters to me deeply. When I started out, I was taught that if a duck dies before market, it's a loss of money. Think of the dollars. Now I see it differently. If a duck in my care dies without good reason, I've failed a responsibility. It's not just a unit of production, it was a living creature that depended on me. That mindset shift guides everything. On day 45, harvest day, we work as quietly and gently as possible. In the pre-dawn dim, we guide the flock into holding pens with feed withdrawn to clear their crops. The ducks are surprisingly calm. It sounds odd, but I think they trust us. My crew has been with them since hatch, and we move slowly with practiced ease to avoid panic. I refuse to allow the rough handling you hear horror stories about in factory farms. No chasing, no throwing birds into crates. Instead, we use low panels to herd and catch them in small groups. I talk to each duck softly when I pick it up. They're warm and heavy in my arms, feathers so soft you could mistake them for pillows. This is the most emotional part for me. I won't lie. There's a pang in knowing these creatures I've nurtured are going to slaughter. I feel it every time, even 20 years in. But I also feel pride and gratitude. These ducks would not have existed if not for the purpose of feeding people, and I've given them the best life and humane end I possibly could. In return, they will nourish families. It's a sober exchange, one I don't take lightly. By mid-morning, the trucks are loaded, and I send the flock off with a short prayer for a swift journey. I follow behind to the processing plant. Not all farmers do this, but I need closure. The processing is quick and regulated, and I ensure my birds are handled with respect through the end. By afternoon, I'm back on the farm, the barn suddenly empty and echoing. It never gets easier seeing it devoid of ducks. I always swear I can still hear faint quacks for a day or two after. This is the quiet conflict of a farmer's life. We pour love and labor into animals knowing their fate. I think the day it stops affecting me is the day I should quit. That evening, I often cook a duck for my own family, our ducks. It's my way of honoring the process of completing the farm-to-table circle under my own roof. As the aroma fills my kitchen, I picture everything that went into this roast. The early morning alarm checks the endless cleanup, the vaccines, the stormy night heroics. My wife and kids know better than anyone what this meal represents. We sit down to eat with a deep appreciation. The skin crisps to golden, the meat is rich and tender. My teenage son, who's grown up helping on the farm, grins and says, Tastes like hard work, Dad. I know he means it as a compliment. Hard work does have a taste. It's in the richness of that duck and the fact that we can enjoy it with clear conscience. By the end of each flock's story, I'm bone-tired, but also rejuvenated with purpose. Every cycle teaches me something new or reinforces lessons learned. Looking back on my journey from that naive, numbers-driven rookie to the farmer I am today, I can distill a few core principles that guide me. Put the animals first, always. If you take care of the ducks, they will take care of your business. Healthy, happy ducks grow better and yield better meat. It's as simple as that. Never let cost-cutting or convenience compromise their welfare. Details make the difference. Clean that waterline, check that feeder record, that weight. A farm is a sum of thousands of small tasks and observations. The day you skip the boring stuff is the day something goes wrong. Diligence and routine save lives and livelihoods. Embrace innovation, but keep your soul in it. I use vaccines, climate control, improved breeds, data tracking. Wonderful tools that my predecessors only dreamed of. But I don't farm from an office desk. I farm in the barn, in the muck, with my own eyes on the flock. Technology should augment intuition, not replace it. Respect the circle of life. Farm to table means we're raising animals for food, and that's a serious responsibility. I give my ducks the best life I can, free of fear and suffering, and in turn, they provide nourishment for people. This respect underpins every decision on my farm, from how we handle a duck to how we treat the land that grows their grain. 2 decades in, I run a 100,000 duck operation that is as efficient and clean as any industrial farm. Yet I strive to make it feel the opposite of factory-like. I want it to feel personal, because it is. I often walk through the barns at sunrise when the world is quiet and my ducks are just waking up, and I feel this swell of pride. This is what farm to table truly means to me. It means the care I give in the barn at 5 a.m. ends up on someone's plate in the form of a safe, delicious meal. My customers, whether it's a family buying a duck at the farmer's market or a high-end restaurant featuring our breast fillets, trust me with their food. I don't take that trust for granted for a second. In the end, my story is a mix of memoir and manifesto. I've had moments of heartbreak and triumph, and I've learned that you can run a large-scale, high-tech farm without losing the heart and soul of farming. I'm just as likely to quote the latest poultry science as I am to recall a saying from my grandfather's time. This farm is where tradition meets innovation. It's dirty boots and data charts side by side. So when you hear farm to table, don't just picture the chef or the fresh dish in front of you. Picture the farmer behind it, perhaps a guy like me in worn-out coveralls who's up with the roosters, or ducks in my case, doing everything humanly possible to raise animals the right way. Safe food isn't an accident. It's the result of love and labor. Every vaccine given, every temperature tweaked, every pound of feed measured, every fence mended in the rain. It all flows into the food we eat. Tonight, as I finish this story, I step out on my porch overlooking the farm. Another cycle done, another about to begin. The empty barns will soon be filled with peeping ducklings again, and we'll start the 45-day adventure anew. I take a deep breath of the cool night air and feel thankful. This is the life I chose, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Because here's my truth: a safe, clean farm-to-table duck begins long before it reaches the table. It begins with a farmer's heart every single time.